especially if you appreciate traditional sweets. Amul Khoa.
Ah, yes, Khoa, basically concentrated milk solids, right? Super rich, creamy.
Exactly, a staple for so many Indian desserts. So we've looked at its packaging, the nutritional info, storage, even a Mawa Burfi recipe that comes right with it. And our mission really is to unpack the key insights. Understand what's actually in this popular ingredient, how it's sort of designed for modern life, and what that means for you, the consumer.
Okay.
Now, when you first look at Amul Khoa, it's pretty clear how it's positioned. Ready to use, convenient.
Definitely aiming for convenience.
And they really lean on that Amul brand reputation, don't they? Made from Amul milk. It's like shorthand for quality, for trust.
It absolutely is. That name carries a lot of weight.
And then there's the packaging.
Yeah.
That practical 200-gram size. Seems perfect for home use, right? Making smaller batches.
Yes, smaller batches without that huge, long process of making Khoa yourself from scratch, which, let's be honest, takes ages.
It really does.
And what's really fascinating about that packaging size and the branding, it's not just convenience. It feels like it reflects broader market shifts.
How so?
Well, that 200-gram pack, it's a smart play for, say, smaller households, and maybe even a nod towards portion control in cooking.
Interesting point.
And putting that simple Mawa Burfi recipe on the packet, that's kind of genius, isn't it?
It lowers the barrier, yeah.
Completely. Takes away the guesswork for maybe someone new to cooking Indian sweets or, busy parents. It shows how brands are trying to make traditional food more accessible, less intimidating.
So convenience is definitely a huge plus. But what about things like shelf life? You mentioned prep time. The storage instructions here are super detailed.
Oh, yeah. What do they say?
Keep frozen minus 18 Celsius or below, thaw it in the fridge, then bring it to room temp, and crucially, do not refreeze.
Right. Okay, so what stands out there is, well, those precise instructions point to a much, much longer shelf life than fresh Khoa.
Which spoils really quickly.
Exactly. It's highly perishable.
Yeah.
So this freezing is absolutely key for wider distribution. Think about retailers managing stock. This makes it way easier. Less spoilage.
Makes sense.
But it's also incredibly convenient for you at home, right? You can just keep it in the freezer for weeks, maybe months. Freezing basically just stops microbial growth and enzyme activity. Keeps it good for longer.
That extended shelf life is a big benefit, no doubt. But I wonder, does freezing ever mess with the authentic taste or texture, especially for someone who's a traditionalist?
That's a fair question. Freezing can sometimes subtly change textures, particularly with dairy. But Amul's process, you'd assume, is designed to minimize that. They want a consistent product.
Right.
So honestly, for the sheer convenience it offers, many people probably find that trade-off totally worth it. Now, if we connect this to the bigger picture, let's look at the nutrition. Per 100 grams, Amul Khoa gives you about 346 kilocalories. That's roughly 17% of your daily energy needs.
Okay.
It also has 14 grams of protein and 22 grams of total fat, which is about 30% of your daily fat recommendation.
30% from 100 grams.
Yeah, and this brings up an important point about saturated fat. It has 13.2 grams per 100 gram serving.
Wow. Okay.
That works out to a pretty significant 66%, two-thirds of the daily recommended allowance for saturated fat.
66%, so quite high then.
Very high. It means, while Khoa is essential for that taste and texture and loads of sweets, you probably want to moderate how much you eat, especially if you're watching fat intake or have cardiovascular concerns. High saturated fat can push up cholesterol levels.
Got it. Now, looking at that label again, something really jumped out at me. Sugar.
Sugar,
This says 0.0 grams of added sugars for the Khoa itself, which sounds good, but it's a base for sweets. Is that normal, or is there more to the story?
That is such a critical point for you, the listener, to grasp. It's absolutely true. The raw Khoa itself, no added sugar.
Yeah.
Any sweetness is just the natural lactose from the milk.
Okay.
However, and this is the big however, that Mawa Burfi recipe they include on the packet, it calls for half a cup of sugar for just that 200-gram block of Khoa.
Half a cup. Wow.
Exactly. So that dramatically changes the whole nutritional profile of the final sweet you make.
Yeah.
It becomes a very different beast compared to just the Khoa on its own.
Right, so the ingredient label only tells part of the story.
Precisely. It's a classic example of needing to look beyond the raw ingredient. Think about plain oats or unsweetened yogurt. Healthy enough alone, right?
Yeah.
But add fruit, honey, granola, whatever. Suddenly it can become a high sugar dish. Same principle here. Preparation completely transforms the overall impact.
So what this all boils down to for you listening is You really need to understand the complete picture, not just judge the single ingredient by itself. So we've taken this deep dive into Amul Khoa. We've seen how it's built for convenience, how freezing extends its life, and maybe most importantly, how its nutritional impact totally shifts once it hits that recipe.
And that transparency in the nutrition facts, when you combine it with being aware of the recipe, well, that really empowers you, doesn't it? Lets you make informed choices about those traditional treats. Enjoy them, but mindfully.
Right. So as you think about all this, here's maybe one last provocative thought for you to chew on. How often do we just assume we know the nutrition of a raw ingredient like flour or, well, Khoa, without really thinking about how cooking it or what we add to it fundamentally changes everything?
Good question.
What other simple ingredients might be holding similar sort of hidden truths once they become part of a bigger, much-loved dish? Something to think about.